Protect your power. Don't tell your weakness to anyone. There comes a point in your life where you must learn the sacred art of silence. Because not everything that you feel needs to be spoken. Not every wound deserves an audience. Not every weakness should be exposed to the eyes of people who do not understand your process. You have to protect your power. When you are chosen, your journey will be misunderstood. People will look at your strength and not realize it was forged through struggle. They will see your smile and have no idea it was shaped by tears. That's why you must be careful who you let close enough to see the cracks in your armor. Some people are not interested in your healing. They're curious about your pain. They don't come to help you, they come to study you. Be wise about where you place your heart. Guard your vulnerability the way a king guards his crown. Your power lies not just in what you say, also in what you withhold. The silence of a wise soul is louder than the noise of those who crave attention. When you speak too soon, you leak strength. When you share too freely, you give ammunition to those who don't deserve to know your battle scars. There are seasons where you must go inward, where your growth happens in private, where your healing happens behind closed doors, where your transformation is between you and God. That's not secrecy, that's strategy. You're not hiding, you're rebuilding. You're not silent because you're weak. You're silent because you're getting stronger. When your weakness becomes a conversation for gossip, you lose authority over your narrative. But when your weakness becomes a conversation with your Creator, you gain divine power. Protect that sacred space. Learn to say less and pray more. Talk less and think deeper. Because discernment grows in silence. Some people can't handle your full truth, and that's okay. You're not meant to be fully understood by everyone. You're meant to be protected by wisdom. There are levels of you that only grace should access. Gossip. Don't confuse transparency with foolishness. Don't confuse vulnerability with exposure. You can be open without being uncovered. You can be honest without being emptied. Protect your heart, your vision, your power, your peace, because not everyone around you has the capacity to hold them sacred. Your silence isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's strength. It's spiritual maturity. Sometimes God hides you not to punish you, but to preserve you, because what's being developed in secret will soon speak loudly in the open. There's a power in silence that most people never learn to embrace. In a world that constantly pushes you to speak, to post, to prove, to explain, silence feels uncomfortable, almost unnatural, yet silence is not weakness. It's wisdom wrapped in restraint. It's the mark of someone who has learned that not every moment requires noise, and not every response requires words. Silence is where strength grows roots. When you learn to be still in the middle of chaos, you begin to understand that silence is not the absence of power, it's the control of it. There's a reason the strongest people don't always speak the loudest. They don't waste energy trying to convince others who they are. They don't announce every victory or defend every accusation. They stand still knowing that their peace is more valuable than anyone's opinion. Silence gives you space to see clearly. When you stop reacting, you start perceiving. You begin to see people for who they truly are. You start to hear the whispers of your own intuition. You learn that some battles are not meant to be fought with words, but with wisdom. Some wars are won not through arguments, but through silence and strategy. There is a maturity that comes with holding your tongue, because not every truth needs to be told, and not every emotion deserves an audience. Sometimes your silence is your protection. It shields your dreams from doubters and your pain from those who would only use it against you. Silence is a shield for your purpose. It is the sacred space where your thoughts have time to breathe before they are spoken into the world. Think about how many times you've spoken too soon and it cost you peace. How many times you've tried to explain yourself to people who were never listening to understand. How often you've revealed your weakness to those who only wanted information, not connection. Every time you break the discipline of silence, you risk scattering your energy in places that don't deserve it. When you practice silence, you reclaim your power. You teach your emotions that they don't rule you. You train your spirit to rest even when the world is loud. You realize that silence is not an empty space, it's a sacred pause between impulse and wisdom. It's the moment where you consult your spirit before you consult the crowd. It's the breath before the breakthrough. Strong souls understand that silence is not avoidance, it's alignment. It's choosing not to react when provoked, not to explain when misunderstood, to defend when judged. Because sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Silence tells your enemies they no longer have control. It confuses those who expect you to crumble. It shows that you've mastered the art of peace even in pain. There's also healing in silence. When your heart is broken, you don't need to announce your suffering. You can grieve quietly, pray deeply, and rise slowly. Silence gives you the room to rebuild your identity without interference. It allows you to listen to the soft voice within, the one that whispers, "You will make it through this." In silence, you remember who you are without the noise of other people's opinions. Silence also refines your words. When you speak after being silent, your words carry more weight because they've been filtered through thought and reflection. People who live in noise often speak without purpose, but those who have learned the discipline of silence know how to speak with precision. When they open their mouth, truth comes out, measured, meaningful, and powerful. The world glorifies visibility, but real power moves quietly. Trees grow in silence. The sun rises without announcement. Healing happens in silence. Transformation, real transformation, takes place in quiet moments when no one is watching. Silence is not an empty space. It's the birthplace of strength, clarity, and divine strategy. Sometimes God will pull you into seasons of silence not to punish you, but to prepare you. You may feel hidden, forgotten, overlooked, but in truth, you are being developed. Your silence is the soil where purpose is planted. It's the dark space before the bloom. You cannot rush the process. You cannot explain it to everyone. You must trust that when it's time to speak again, your words will carry the weight of your journey. The discipline of silence will save you from unnecessary battles. It will protect you from emotional exhaustion. It will remind you that peace is not found in being understood, but in understanding yourself. You will begin to see that silence is not about withholding truth. It's about protecting energy. It's not about fear. It's about focus. When you master silence, you no longer live at the mercy of reaction. You don't chase validation. You stop trying to prove your worth. You become anchored, centered. You understand that not responding is sometimes the most powerful response you can give, because silence speaks volumes. It says, I'm not moved by chaos. I'm not desperate for attention. I know who I am. There's a strength that grows in stillness that no amount of talking can build. Because in silence, your mind learns discipline, your spirit learns patience, and your heart learns peace. You begin to value quiet moments, not as emptiness, as nourishment. The quiet becomes your classroom, teaching you resilience, discernment, and emotional intelligence. When you finally grasp the beauty of silence, you will stop seeking approval in noise. You will stop explaining your process to people who were never meant to understand it. You will stop opening your mouth just to fill the air. Instead, you will let your actions speak, your peace speak, your progress speak. So when you find yourself misunderstood, don't rush to defend yourself. When they underestimate you, don't argue for recognition. When they gossip about you, don't waste your breath trying to correct them. Let silence be your response. Let peace be your proof. Let your growth be your answer. Because nothing is louder than the sound of someone who kept quiet while becoming everything others said they never could. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've learned to master the noise within and around you. It means you've grown strong enough to understand that not everything deserves your reaction, not everyone deserves your truth, and not every situation deserves your energy. In a world that screams for attention, silence will set you apart, keep you grounded when others are chasing applause. It will protect your mind from the chaos of comparison. It will remind you that real strength isn't proven by how loud you can shout. It's proven by how well you can stand still. So embrace your silence, cherish it, defend it, because in that quiet space, you will find your focus, your faith, and your freedom. That's where strength is born. not in noise, but in stillness. And when the time comes to speak again, your voice will carry the power of everything you learned in the silence. There is a sacred beauty in vulnerability. It is the part of you that feels deeply, loves fiercely, and dreams boldly. It's the space where your authenticity lives, where your emotions are raw and your heart is unguarded. But as powerful as vulnerability is, it must also be protected. Because when you open your soul to the wrong people, they don't see it as sacred. They see it as an opportunity. That's why you must learn to protect your vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's courage in its purest form. It's the willingness to be real in a world that rewards masks. But that same courage must be balanced with wisdom. You cannot show your heart to everyone and expect to remain whole. Some people will not handle your openness with care. They will take what you shared in trust and use it as a weapon in conflict. They will call it connection when it's really curiosity. They'll ask to see your wounds, not to heal them, but to study how you bleed. That's why discernment must walk hand in hand with vulnerability. Protecting your vulnerability doesn't mean building walls, it means setting boundaries. A wall keeps everyone out. A boundary knows who to let in. It means you can still love deeply without losing yourself. You can still be honest without being exposed. You can still be kind without being drained. It's learning to share your truth with those who have proven they can carry it with care. The truth is, not everyone who asks to know you deserves to. Everyone who says they care can handle your reality. Some people only love the strong version of you. The smiling version, the giving version, the unstoppable version. But when you show them the version that's tired, hurt, or uncertain, they step back. They're not equipped for that level of truth. And that's okay, because your vulnerability is not meant for public consumption. It's a sacred exchange that should only happen with safe souls. Protecting your vulnerability means guarding your energy from people who drain it. It means learning that no is a complete sentence. It means not explaining your decisions to people who have not earned the right to question them. It means being intentional about where you invest your emotional resources. Because your peace is a limited currency. Every time you spend it on the wrong person, you bankrupt yourself. Many people confuse vulnerability with overexposure, but they are not the same. Overexposure is when you give your heart without discernment. It's when you pour your soul into places that have no container to hold it. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is strength guided by wisdom. It's sharing your truth at the right time, in the right space, with the right people. It's not about fear. It's about focus. It's not about shutting down. It's about stewarding your emotions wisely. There are people who will misunderstand your need for protection. They'll call you distant, guarded, or cold. But they don't see that you've been through seasons where your openness was mishandled. They don't understand that behind your calm is a history of heartbreak. Behind your silence is a story of being taken for granted. Protecting your vulnerability isn't about mistrust, it's about maturity. You've learned that not everyone who claps for you is for you. Not everyone who listens wants to understand. And not everyone who comforts you wants to heal you. Protecting your vulnerability is also about protecting your dreams. Not every vision you have should be shared. Some ideas need to incubate in silence. Some revelations need to be protected until they mature. When you share too soon, you invite opinions that can distort what was meant to grow. People will project their fears onto your vision. They'll tell you it can't be done, not because it's impossible, because they don't have the faith to see it. That's why it's wise to let your progress speak louder than your plans. It's also about protecting your emotional transparency. In moments of pain, your instinct may be to reach out, to vent, to explain. But there's power in pausing before you speak. There's wisdom in asking yourself, will this person help me heal or make me hurt deeper? Because some people listen to respond, not to understand. And once your vulnerability is in the wrong hands, you can't control how it's handled. Learning to protect your vulnerability doesn't mean becoming hard or emotionless. It means becoming selective. It means choosing depth over attention, peace over approval, and authenticity over acceptance. It's realizing that your emotional safety is your responsibility, No one else can guard your heart the way you can. There will be seasons when your spirit feels fragile. Times when life presses you, breaks you, reshapes you. During those seasons, protect your space, protect your peace, protect your silence. You don't owe the world an explanation while you're healing. You don't have to prove that you're okay. Healing is a private process, not a public performance. You have the right to step back, to breathe, to rebuild quietly. Protecting your vulnerability is also about protecting your joy. Don't let negativity have access to your happiness. Don't share your excitement with people who secretly hope you fail. There are moments that are meant to be celebrated privately because not everyone can handle your light. Some people will try to dim it because it exposes their own darkness. Protect your joy like a flame in the wind. Shield it until it becomes unshakable. And finally, protecting your vulnerability means knowing when to be open and when to be silent. Not every feeling needs to be spoken. Every thought needs to be shared, and not every emotion deserves an audience. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is sit with your feelings, process them in prayer, and let God heal what words cannot. You are not fragile because you feel deeply. You are powerful because you have the courage to feel it all. But even power must be protected. Your vulnerability is your humanity. It's what makes you compassionate, empathetic, and real. Don't let life harden you. Don't let pain close your heart. Do let wisdom guide your openness. Be soft but smart. Be kind but cautious. Be open to those who have proven they can handle the gift of your truth, because your vulnerability is sacred ground. Not everyone deserves to walk there. The ones who do will protect it, honor it, and water it with love. But the ones who don't, let them stay outside the gate. Protect your power. Protect your peace. Protect your vulnerability. Because once you learn to do that, you'll walk through life stronger, lighter, and freer, unshaken by betrayal, unmoved by judgment, and untouched by the noise. When you protect your vulnerability, you reclaim your strength. You stop letting the world define your worth. You stop giving your heart away to those who only come to take. You begin to walk with quiet confidence, knowing that your softness is not a weakness, it's a divine strength. And when you finally learn that lesson, no one can ever take your peace again. There is something holy, something profoundly divine about the process of growing in private. In a world that constantly craves visibility, where everything is documented, shared, and consumed, choosing to grow quietly has become an act of rebellion and an act of wisdom. Private growth is sacred because it happens away from the noise, away from the opinions, and away from the pressure to perform. I challenge him enough. It's in that hidden place where real transformation takes root. When you decide to grow privately, you give yourself permission to heal without judgment. You allow your soul to stretch, your faith to deepen, and your purpose to evolve without the interference of outside voices. Because not everyone can understand your process. Not everyone can handle your in-between seasons. The times when you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you're becoming. Those seasons are fragile, they're holy, and that's why they must be protected. Growth is rarely glamorous, always inspiring. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often silent. It's the nights when you cry and no one knows. It's the mornings when you wake up and decide to try again, even when everything in you feels heavy. It's the moments when you choose faith over fear, consistency over comfort, and purpose over popularity. These are not things that can be broadcast. They must be lived, felt, and experienced in solitude. Private growth is sacred because it's real. Public growth often comes with performance, but private growth comes with purpose. When you're growing behind closed doors, there's no audience to impress, just a mirror reflecting who you truly are. That's where you meet your authentic self, stripped of titles, opinions, and expectations. You learn your patterns, your triggers, your strengths, and your weaknesses. You confront the parts of yourself you've avoided. You stop running from your reflection and start rebuilding it. Many people want the results of growth, but not the privacy that growth requires. They want to be celebrated for becoming without being hidden for transforming. Every seed must go underground before it breaks through the surface. Every caterpillar must disappear into a cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. The hidden process is not punishment, it's preparation. God does his best work in the dark. In those silent seasons, when no one sees what you're doing, it's easy to feel forgotten. But you're not forgotten. You're being developed. You're being shaped for the stage that hasn't been built yet. You're being strengthened for opportunities that haven't arrived yet. You're being refined so that when your moment comes, you won't crumble under the weight of it. Private growth is the training ground for destiny. You cannot skip the private stages and expect to thrive publicly. The roots that grow in silence are the ones that sustain the fruit that grows in the light. If your growth isn't deep, your success won't last. Because visibility without maturity destroys people. That's why your hidden seasons are so sacred. They ensure that when you step into your next level, you are grounded enough to handle it. Private growth teaches you patience. It reminds you that everything valuable takes time. Flowers don't rush to bloom. Trees don't force their branches. They grow slowly, quietly, consistently. You may not see results right away, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Deep within you, change is forming. Your mindset is shifting. Your spirit is being strengthened. Your faith is being stretched. Growth may be invisible for a while, but it's inevitable if you stay faithful. The world will tell you to show every move, to prove your progress, to announce your journey, but you don't owe anyone a front row seat to your development. You don't have to explain your silence. You don't have to justify your absence. Sometimes disappearing is part of destiny. There are seasons where God hides you to heal you, where he silences you to sharpen you, where he isolates you not to abandon you, but to anoint you. In those seasons, be still. Don't rush to come out before your time. Don't feel pressured to share what's still being shaped. Let the work happen. Let the process mold you. Let the quiet refine you. Because when you finally emerge, the growth will speak for itself. You won't have to prove that you've changed. Your presence will carry the evidence. Private growth also protects your peace. When you grow in private, you don't have to battle the noise of opinions. You don't have to fight for validation. You don't have to defend your journey. You are free to evolve without interruption. You can make mistakes, learn, and readjust without the world watching. You can take your time. You can cry, rebuild, rise again in your own rhythm. And let's be honest, real growth is intimate. It's spiritual. It's emotional. It's something that happens between you and God, between you and your soul. No camera can capture that. No caption can express that. It's the whisper of your heart saying, I'm changing, I'm healing, I'm becoming. It's the invisible work that produces visible strength later. Private growth also teaches you gratitude, because in silence you start to notice things you once overlooked. The peace of an ordinary morning, comfort of your own company, the beauty of progress that no one else can see. You begin to understand that fulfillment doesn't come from applause, but from alignment. You stop chasing validation and start cherishing peace. You stop performing and start living. There's also humility in growing privately. When you allow yourself to evolve quietly, you don't become addicted to attention. You learn to value the process more than the praise. You realize that growth isn't about being seen, it's about being transformed. The applause will fade, but the internal change will remain. That's what truly matters. When your growth is sacred, your confidence becomes unshakable. Challenge you to not drawing it from people's approval, you're drawing it from experience. You've faced yourself, you've battled your doubts, you've confronted your pain, and you've come out stronger. That kind of strength can't be given or taken. It's earned in private. So if you're in a quiet season right now, don't despise it. Don't rush to be visible. Don't envy others who seem to be ahead. You are exactly where you need to be. Growth is happening, even if you can't see it yet. You are being built for something greater. You are being shaped for something sacred. Protect your process. Keep your growth private. Let the noise fade, let the distractions fall away, and focus on the inner work. Because when you finally step out of that hidden place, carry a strength that silence taught you, a peace that pain gave you, and a glow that only private growth can produce. Private growth is sacred because it's where purpose becomes personal. It's where the noise of the world fades and the voice of God becomes clear. It's where you stop striving to be seen and start becoming who you were created to be. The world may not understand your silence, but heaven celebrates it. Because private growth is not just preparation, it's worship, it's obedience, it's trust. In a world where everyone feels pressure to share everything, every thought, every feeling, every struggle, learning to choose discernment over disclosure has become a rare form of wisdom. We live in an age that glorifies exposure, where silence is mistaken for secrecy and privacy is seen as a problem. But true maturity is not found in how much you reveal, it's found in how wisely you choose what to reveal and to whom. Discernment is the filter that protects your destiny. There's a difference between being open and being uncovered. Openness builds connection, but overexposure invites confusion. When you disclose too much to the wrong people, you give them access to parts of you they haven't earned the right to hold. Everyone who listens deserves to know your truth. Not everyone who asks deserves an answer. Not everyone who smiles deserves your story. Every moment is meant to be shared. Discernment is the quiet voice inside that says, wait, think before you speak. Pray before you share. Observe before you trust. It's the inner compass that tells you when to speak and when to stay silent, when to open up and when to keep certain things between you and God. Because the truth is, disclosure without discernment can destroy what you're trying to build. Too many people have learned this the hard way. They shared their dreams too early, and it was met with doubt. They revealed their pain too freely, and it was met with judgment. They trusted too quickly, and it was met with betrayal. Not everyone can carry the weight of your story. Some people want to know you only to use what they learn against you later. That's why discernment is not optional, it's essential. When you practice discernment, you're not being secretive, you're being strategic. You understand that timing matters. You realize that wisdom sometimes requires silence. You recognize that your purpose is too precious to be handled carelessly. Discernment teaches you to protect your peace, your plans, and your process. It reminds you that your journey is not for everyone's commentary. People often say, be real, be transparent. But realness doesn't mean recklessness. You can be authentic without being unguarded. You can be truthful without being vulnerable to harm. There's a fine line between sharing your story and surrendering your strength. When you disclose every detail of your life to everyone, you risk giving power to those who haven't earned your trust. Discernment also helps you recognize motives. Some people ask questions not out of love, but out of curiosity. Some want to be close not to build you up, to collect information. They're not looking for connection. They're looking for control. When you have discernment, you stop mistaking attention for interest and sympathy for sincerity. You learn to test spirits before you trust words. One of the greatest signs of wisdom is restraint. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. There's power in silence, especially when your emotions are high, because once words leave your mouth, they can't be taken back. Once a secret leaves your heart, it can't be unspoken. Discernment teaches you that sometimes silence speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Even nature teaches us the beauty of hidden growth. Seeds do their most powerful work underground. The roots of trees grow deep in silence before their branches reach for the light. The seed were to disclose its process too soon. If it opened itself up before it was ready, it would die before it ever bloomed. The same is true for your life. What's developing inside you must be protected until it's strong enough to stand on its own. Discernment is also about knowing when to speak. There's a divine timing for every revelation. Some truths need to be spoken only when healing has taken place, not when pain is still raw. Some dreams need to be shared only when they're fully formed, not when they're fragile. Some battles need to be fought in prayer, not in public. Disclosure without discernment can make you vulnerable to manipulation. People can only twist what they know. That's why you should never hand them the tools to tear you down. Learn to keep some things between you and God. Learn to let your progress speak instead of your plans. Learn to allow your silence to build curiosity and your actions to build credibility. When you embrace discernment, you don't have to fear being misunderstood. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't have to prove your purity, your purpose, or your pain. Let time and truth do that for you. The same people who doubted your silence will one day respect your strength. Discernment also protects your emotional energy. Every conversation costs something. Every time you open up, you invest a part of yourself. And care enough, when you share with people who can't handle what you're giving, you waste emotional resources that could have been used for your healing. Discernment reminds you to share selectively, to trust gradually, and to give wisely. It's not about shutting down, it's about standing strong. It's not about isolation, it's about preservation. Discernment is the difference between growing and draining, between wisdom and regret. It's the strength to hold your peace when others demand your opinion. It's the power to stay private while others overshare. It's the maturity to understand that privacy is not the enemy of authenticity, it's the guardian of it. The truth is, when you begin to value discernment, you stop living for validation. You no longer feel the need to prove what you know, to display your progress, or to explain your purpose. You realize that real strength doesn't always announce itself. It simply exists quietly, confidently, and consistently. Discernment also deepens your relationship with God, because when you stop talking to everyone about everything, you start talking to Him more. You start bringing your confusion to prayer instead of conversation. You start seeking divine answers instead of public opinions. You stop running to people for clarity and start waiting for direction from the one who knows your path. There is freedom in that kind of discernment. Freedom from gossip, freedom from drama, freedom from needing to be understood. You learn that peace is found in privacy. You discover that not everything needs to be explained. You start to move differently, quietly, wisely, intentionally. You start to protect your atmosphere. Discernment over disclosure is not about fear. It's about faith. It's believing that what's meant for you doesn't need to be announced for it to happen. It's trusting that your growth doesn't need to be seen for it to be real. It's knowing that what's between you and God will eventually show through your life without you ever having to say a word. So, the next time you're tempted to overshare, to explain, to defend, to prove, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this the right time? Is this the right person? Is this the right reason? Because once you release a word, you release control. Once you share your heart, you can't take it back. Protect your peace with discernment. In the end, discernment will always outlast disclosure. The quiet, careful souls may not be loud, but they are steady. They may not be seen, but they are safe. They may not share everything, but what they do share carries weight, purpose, and power. So choose discernment. Let silence be your strength. Let wisdom guide your words. And let peace be your reward. Because when you master the art of discernment, you no longer waste your voice trying to be heard. You use it only when it matters. There comes a time in every person's life when they must decide who controls their peace, their emotions, their confidence, and their direction. And that moment, the one where you choose to take your power back, is one of the most important turning points you will ever experience. Because too often, without realizing it, we hand over our power to people, circumstances, and emotions that were never meant to hold it. We give away pieces of ourselves in the form of overreactions, over-explanations, and over-dependence. And before we know it, we've become disconnected from the strength that once made us whole. Power isn't about dominance, it's about control. Control over your thoughts, your emotions, and your responses. Every time you let anger dictate your words, fear dictate your choices, or insecurity dictate your worth, you give away power that belongs to you. You hand it to the very things trying to break you. But when you learn to pause, to breathe, to stand still when everything around you demands a reaction, you reclaim it. The truth is, life will always test you. People will disappoint you. Situations will trigger you. But your strength is not proven by how loud you respond. It's proven by how centered you remain. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to explain yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. You don't have to fight every battle that crosses your path. You are not obligated to drain your spirit to prove a point. You can simply decide, not giving my power to this. The moment you do that, peace begins to grow. Because power leaks through emotional reaction. When you respond out of pain, you empower the source of your pain. When you allow anger to rule, you become a slave to it. When you let resentment take root, it becomes a parasite that drains your focus. Protect your energy like it's sacred, because it is. Your energy is the currency of your destiny, and where you spend it determines what you create. Don't give away your power to people who enjoy seeing you frustrated. Some people don't want peace. They want a reaction. They thrive on conflict because it gives them attention. Don't feed their hunger for chaos. Sometimes silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Sometimes walking away is not surrender, it's strength. Not everyone deserves a response. Not everything deserves your emotion. You also give away power when you let the opinions of others define you. The moment you start living for approval, you become a prisoner to people's expectations. They'll build you up one day and tear you down the next. Don't let the voices of others silence the truth of who you are. Validation is fleeting, but self-respect is permanent. You don't need applause to prove your worth. You just need alignment with your purpose. Don't give away your power to your past either. The things that happened to you were lessons, not life sentences. Stop reliving the same pain over and over again. Stop letting old wounds dictate new opportunities. Your past is a chapter, not the whole book. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, every time you choose to move forward instead of looking back, you reclaim a piece of your power. Power is also lost in comparison. When you look at someone else's progress and feel smaller, you hand over your joy. You start living by their timeline instead of your own. You forget that everyone's journey is different. What's meant for them doesn't take away what's meant for you. Comparison steals your confidence, and confidence is one of the greatest forms of power. Walk your own path, move in your own rhythm, celebrate your own growth. And then there's fear, the silent thief of power. Fear tells you you're not ready, not qualified, not enough. It keeps you stuck in places you've outgrown. Power begins the moment you act in faith despite fear. When you step forward trembling but trusting, something inside you shifts. You stop waiting for courage and start creating it. You realize that fear doesn't disappear. It just loses authority when you move anyway. Don't give away your power to negativity either, whether it comes from others or from within. The world will always have opinions, critics, and distractions. You can't stop the noise, but you can stop giving it a home in your mind. Protect your thoughts, because every thought builds your reality. What you focus on grows. If you focus on lack, you empower fear. If you focus on gratitude, you empower joy. Your mind is your battlefield. Peace is your victory. You also give away your power when you constantly seek to please everyone. People pleasing is emotional surrender disguised as kindness. You think you're being helpful, but often you're abandoning yourself. You bend until you break. You say yes when your spirit screams no, but true kindness includes boundaries. You can't pour from an empty soul. Loving others never means losing yourself. Reclaiming your power means knowing that you are responsible for your energy. No one can take your peace without your permission. No one can make you feel small unless you hand them the authority to do so. You decide how much power others have in your life. You decide what gets to live rent-free in your mind. You decide what you allow to touch your spirit. That's the beauty of free will. It's also the burden of wisdom. Reclaiming your power also means understanding that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's not letting someone off the hook. It's setting yourself free. When you hold on to anger, you stay tied to the very thing that hurt you. When you forgive, you cut the cord. You release the weight. You reclaim the energy that resentment once stole. Forgiveness is power disguised as grace. There will be moments when you feel like you've lost control, moments when life shakes you, when people betray you, when doors close unexpectedly. Even then, you have a choice. You can either give your power to the storm or anchor yourself in peace. You can either let the chaos define you or let it refine you. Strength isn't about avoiding struggle, it's about remaining grounded through it. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you reclaim your power. Every time you choose faith over fear, you reclaim your power. Every time you choose to walk away from what doesn't serve you, you reclaim your power. Power doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's found in the quiet decision to not let the world harden you. You are powerful beyond measure. Not because of what you control outside, because of what you master inside. When you control your reactions, you control your peace. When you manage your emotions, you manage your energy. You know who you are, the opinions of others lose their grip. And that's real power, internal, unshakable, and eternal. So stop handing your power to circumstances that don't deserve it. Stop allowing temporary storms to make permanent decisions. Stop letting people who don't understand your purpose shape your path. Stand tall, stand rooted, stand calm. You don't have to prove your power, you just have to protect it. Don't give it away. Don't waste it on drama, doubt, or fear. Channel it into growth. Pour it into purpose. Protect it like the sacred gift that it is. The world may try to pull you in every direction, but you have the final say. You have the authority to decide what defines you, what drains you, and what deserves you. That's your power. Don't give it away. There is a sacredness to your becoming that the world does not need to witness. In a culture that glorifies exposure, that measures worth through visibility, takes courage to evolve in silence. Growth is not always glamorous. Healing is not always picture perfect. Transformation is not always meant for display. You do not owe the world access to your process. What you are working through, what you are building, what you are healing from, that belongs to you. It is not for public consumption, not for commentary, and not for validation. Your process is personal. It is between you, your purpose, and the God who planted it within you. There are moments in your life that are meant to be private incubations. Times when you are being stretched, shaped, and strengthened away from the eyes of others. Just because people cannot see your progress does not mean it isn't happening. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks the soil. And if you rush to reveal it too soon, you expose it to winds that could destroy what hasn't yet developed roots. We live in an age of performance where everyone feels pressure to share their every move to prove that they are doing something, becoming something, achieving something. Real transformation doesn't need an audience. In fact, the moment you make your process public, you invite opinions that can cloud your discernment. You give people the chance to label what they do not understand and criticize what they could never carry. Your process deserves protection because premature exposure can kill divine potential. Sometimes the reason your plans are taking longer than expected is because God is protecting your process from the wrong eyes. Some people don't want to see you grow. They want to monitor your struggle. They don't come to celebrate. They come to collect information. They disguise curiosity as concern and call it friendship. That's why you must be careful who you confide in during seasons of construction. Everyone cannot handle your vulnerability. Everyone cannot understand the weight of what you are birthing. When you're in process, silence becomes your strategy. Not because you're hiding, but because you're building. You don't tell a crowd about the foundation you're laying. They wouldn't understand the importance of the unseen work. The quiet seasons are where your strength is forged, where your character is tested, where your faith is refined. It's where you learn discipline, patience, and trust. That's the kind of work that doesn't fit neatly into a social media post. That's the kind of growth that happens behind closed doors. Don't let the pressure to prove steal your peace. You don't need to announce every breakthrough or explain every delay. The people meant to witness your results will see them when the time is right. Let your success make the noise your silence could never speak. Let your results testify to the process they never saw. The loudest evidence of your progress is not your words. It's your fruit. There is a difference between transparency and exposure. Transparency is wisdom. Exposure is vulnerability without boundaries. Being transparent means sharing lessons when they're ready to empower someone else. Exposure means bleeding in front of people who only came to watch. Know the difference. Protect your emotional and spiritual privacy while you're healing. Not everyone deserves access to your process because not everyone has the maturity to handle it. When you make your process public, you also risk shaping it around people's reactions instead of divine direction. You start adjusting your steps to gain approval rather than to honor your purpose. You start doubting what you once knew to be true because someone else couldn't see it. That's how purpose gets diluted when you start performing for applause instead of progressing in alignment. Growth requires solitude. Vision requires focus. Destiny requires protection. There are divine seasons where you will feel hidden. And that's not punishment, that's preparation. You're not being overlooked, you're being developed. Hiddenness is where God protects your roots from the storms of opinion. It's where He strengthens your foundation so that when you finally emerge, you can withstand the weight of visibility. The tree that grows slowly often grows stronger. The one that endures in silence often stands the tallest. Don't resent the seasons when no one sees you. Despise the days when you feel invisible. Those are the days when real transformation takes place. Caterpillar doesn't post from the cocoon. It waits. It doesn't rush the metamorphosis. It trusts the process because it understands that the beauty of the butterfly is built in darkness. Likewise, your unseen work is preparing you for public purpose. You owe no explanation for your pace, your silence, or your strategy. People will question what they don't understand, and that's okay. You're not responsible for their comprehension. You're responsible for your consistency. While they're talking, you're transforming. While they're speculating, you're strengthening. And when the time is right, what you've been working on in private will speak for itself. Your process is not public property. Your healing is not a public event. Your journey is not a community vote. You can share your testimony once it's complete. Don't let others narrate your story while you're still writing it. Protect your peace. Guard your privacy. You are not obligated to perform your progress. Sometimes the best thing you can do is quietly grow, quietly build, quietly heal. The world doesn't need to see your wounds to believe in your worth. You can rise in silence. You can rebuild in private. You can remerge when the time is right with wisdom, with strength, with grace. Because your process is the sacred ground where you become who you were created to be. And sacred things lose power when they are mishandled. Keep it covered. Keep it protected. Not hidden out of fear, but sheltered out of reverence. The world can wait. The vision can't afford to be rushed. One day, very people who doubted your silence will stand in awe of your results. One day, what you were mocked for hiding will become what they celebrate you for achieving. The same ones who asked, "Where have you been?" will witness what God was doing all along. So keep your process sacred. Don't share every struggle. Don't post every plan. Don't invite every voice into your journey. You are not obligated to be understood while you are evolving. What you are becoming is too valuable to be exposed too early. Your process is not public property, it is divine property. It's where destiny is shaped, character is carved, and faith is fortified. Protect it fiercely, honor it daily, trust it completely, because what's growing in the dark now will one day bloom in the light, and it will be undeniable that it was worth the wait. Boundaries are not walls built to shut people out. They are gates designed to guard what is sacred within you. There is a difference between isolation and protection, between withdrawing out of fear and standing firm out of wisdom. Too often, we confuse boundaries with selfishness and silence with distance. But truthfully, boundaries are one of the highest forms of self-respect. They do not mean you lack love. They mean you love wisely. They do not mean you're closed off. They mean you've learned what your soul can and cannot afford to lose anymore. Boundaries are not punishments for others. They are protection for you. Every healthy relationship, whether with people, time, work, or even yourself, requires a framework of respect. Without boundaries, your peace becomes negotiable, your energy becomes depleted, and your purpose becomes scattered. People who do not understand your boundaries will often call them attitude. That's because they benefited from your lack of them. When you begin to set boundaries, it can feel uncomfortable. You may fear rejection, misunderstanding, or conflict. You may feel guilty for saying no to things you used to accept. But growth requires discomfort. Peace requires pruning. Every no spoken in truth protects the yes, meant for your destiny. Boundaries are not about control, they are about clarity. They help you define where you end and where someone else begins. Without boundaries, love becomes obligation, kindness becomes exhaustion, Giving becomes depletion. You start to lose yourself in the noise of everyone else's expectations. You start living for approval instead of alignment. The moment you draw that line, the moment you decide that not everything deserves your access, you take back your power. You reclaim your focus. You make space for peace to breathe. Boundaries teach people how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to honor yourself. Every time you stay silent when your spirit wants to speak, you teach yourself that your voice doesn't matter. Every time you overextend when you're running on empty, you teach yourself that your needs are secondary. Boundaries are how you stop betraying yourself for the comfort of others. They are not cold, they are compassionate. They are not distance, they are dignity. Sometimes people will not understand your boundaries, and that's okay. They were never meant to. Boundaries are not for them, they're for you. You do not owe explanations to those who refuse to respect your peace. The ones who truly care about your well-being will recognize that your boundaries are not barriers to love. They're the structure that keeps love pure. Healthy love doesn't require access to every part of you. It respects the space you need to stay whole. There is a difference between isolation and protection. Isolation says, I can't trust anyone. Protection says, I've learned to be discerning. Isolation builds walls out of fear. Protection builds fences out of wisdom. You can have an open heart and still have guarded gates. You can love deeply without letting everyone into your sacred spaces. Not everyone deserves the same level of access to you. Some people are safe for conversation, but not for counsel. Some are safe for laughter, but not for vulnerability. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Boundaries protect not only your peace, but your purpose. When you spend your energy trying to fix, please, or convince others, you drain the very strength needed for what you were created to do. Distraction often disguises itself as good intentions. Boundaries help you discern where your time is best invested. You cannot heal the world if you are constantly bleeding yourself dry. You cannot lead others if you are lost in your own exhaustion. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's stewardship. People may accuse you of changing when you start setting boundaries. Let them. You are changing. You are learning that you no longer have to break yourself to keep others comfortable. You are realizing that peace is not found in constant availability, in sacred prioritization. Your heart was never meant to carry every burden or fix every problem. Boundaries remind you that you can care deeply without carrying everything personally. Boundaries also redefine your relationships. When you communicate clearly what you can and cannot give, you filter out manipulation and emotional dependency. People who truly value you will adjust. Those who don't will resist. And that resistance is often revelation. It shows who is connected to your heart and who is connected to your access. Don't mourn those who walk away when you start protecting yourself. Their absence is simply making room for peace to stay. Boundaries do not make you hard. They make you healthy. They keep you from living in resentment. Because when you constantly give beyond your limits, bitterness begins to grow. You start to feel unseen, unappreciated, and drained. It's not always because others are selfish. It's because you didn't communicate where your limits were. You cannot expect people to respect boundaries you never set. Speak your truth in love. Say no without apology. Guard your peace like a precious treasure, because it is. There is divine wisdom in learning to say, this far and no further. Even God established boundaries. He separated light from darkness, land from sea, day from night. If creation itself operates within boundaries, how much more should you? Boundaries are not rebellion, they are reflection. They mirror divine order. They keep chaos from invading the sacred spaces of your soul. When you set boundaries, you begin to understand that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the presence of structure. It's knowing that you don't have to say yes to everything to prove you are kind. It's realizing that love without limits becomes burnout. It's remembering that you can honor others without abandoning yourself. And yes, boundaries may make you lose a few people, but they will also attract the right ones. The people meant to walk with you will celebrate your growth, not punish you for it. They will see your boundaries not as rejection, but as maturity. They will honor the way you protect your space because they are doing the same for theirs. Healthy souls recognize healthy boundaries. Do not confuse peace with people-pleasing. People-pleasing is counterfeit peace. It keeps everyone happy but leaves you empty. Real peace may disappoint others, but will align your spirit. It's better to be misunderstood in truth than to be accepted through self-betrayal. Boundaries will test your courage. You will have to risk losing connections you thought were essential. You will have to face moments of loneliness. Loneliness in peace is better than companionship in chaos. You may walk alone for a season, but that solitude will restore your soul. It will reconnect you to your purpose, your faith, and your sense of self. Boundaries are bridges, not barriers. They connect you to healthier relationships, deeper peace, and a stronger identity. They help you love others more authentically because you're no longer loving from exhaustion. You're loving from overflow. So guard your time. Protect your energy. Choose peace over pleasing. Learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. Your boundaries are not rejection. They are direction. They are the blueprint for your emotional and spiritual well-being. Boundaries are protection, not isolation. They are not about keeping the world out. They're about keeping your purpose intact. When you protect what's sacred within you, you honor the divine design of your life. You become a vessel of peace instead of a victim of pressure. You live from fullness, not fatigue. Real strength doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout boast or seek applause. It doesn't need to prove what it already knows. True strength moves in silence. It flows through consistency, humility, and endurance. It shows up not through words, but through presence. When storms rage, strength is not the one making noise, it's the one that stands. When life shakes your foundation, strength doesn't need to post proof of survival. It simply rebuilds. Strength speaks in quiet victories, in healed scars, and in the ability to keep showing up when everything in you wants to quit. We live in a world obsessed with proving. Everyone wants to show what they've overcome, to display resilience like a trophy. But there is a deeper kind of power that doesn't need validation. It's the kind that rises when no one is watching, that prays when the room is empty, that keeps faith alive when the heart is weary. It's not about performing strength, it's about being strong. You don't need to convince anyone you're powerful. Time will reveal what words never could. Let strength speak for itself. Because when it's real, it echoes louder than anything you could ever say. You don't have to broadcast every battle or explain every wound. The ones who truly know strength will see it in the way you carry yourself. They'll feel it in the peace you protect. They'll recognize it in your stillness, in your refusal to let bitterness take root, in your quiet decision to keep choosing hope even when the world tells you to give up. Strength is not noise, it's endurance. It's waking up every morning after being broken the night before. It's forgiving when you could easily choose revenge. It's loving again after betrayal, trusting again after disappointment, and believing again after loss. It's choosing to smile when life gives you every reason to frown. That's strength, and it doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like tears wiped in the dark. Sometimes it looks like showing up to work with a heavy heart. Sometimes it looks like holding your tongue when anger tempts you to speak. Strength is restraint. It's knowing you could clap back but deciding to stay quiet. It's understanding that not every battle is yours to fight. It's having the self-control to walk away when chaos invites you in. It's letting your results answer the criticism, letting your peace silence the noise, and letting your growth be the loudest response to doubt. You don't have to argue with people who don't understand your process. Just keep building. Just keep moving. Let your consistency prove your character. The strongest souls are often the quietest ones. They've learned that energy is precious, that peace is expensive, that not every situation deserves a reaction. They no longer seek validation from others because they've already found affirmation in purpose. They don't waste time trying to explain themselves to small minds. They don't beg for understanding from those determined to misunderstand. They simply walk in truth, knowing that silence has a power all its own. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Just let life unfold. Let your faith work, and let time reveal what words cannot. Strength knows that truth doesn't need to be defended. It will stand on its own. Strength knows that patience isn't weakness, it's mastery. Strength knows that the quiet work done in private will one day shine in public without you ever needing to advertise it. The world often mistakes gentleness for weakness, but it takes immense power to remain kind in a cruel world. It takes courage to stay soft when life hardens others. It takes faith to smile through the storm, to choose peace over petness, and to keep loving when love has hurt you. That's not weakness, that's strength wrapped in grace. Real strength also knows when to rest. It understands that pushing without pause leads to burnout. It's not about pretending to be invincible, it's about knowing when to retreat, recharge, rise again. Even warriors rest, even lions retreat to their dens. Strength doesn't mean you never get tired. It means you never let weariness define you. It means you rest, recover, and return stronger. Let strength speak for itself in how you treat people, in how you forgive those who hurt you, in how you remain humble even when you win, in how you keep serving even when you're overlooked. Strength is not about dominance. It's about dignity. It's about walking through pain without losing compassion, about handling success without arrogance, about standing tall without stepping on others. There will be times when people misjudge your silence as weakness. They will think that because you don't react, you don't notice. Strength doesn't have to announce awareness. It knows that silence can say more than words ever could. Strength listens, observes, and waits, understands that timing is everything. It knows that what's meant for you cannot be stolen by noise or manipulation. The strongest people aren't the ones who struggle, who shout about their struggles. They're the ones who quietly conquer them. They know that growth doesn't require a stage. They understand that purpose is forged in private. They live in such alignment that they no longer need to prove they've changed. Change proves itself. When you let strength speak for itself, you begin to live with quiet confidence. You stop rushing to defend your decisions. You stop needing approval to feel secure. You stop explaining what peace you've chosen for yourself. You understand that not everyone will understand you. And that's okay. You didn't come to be understood by everyone. You came to fulfill a calling greater than their comprehension. Let strength speak for itself through your endurance, not your explanations, through your fruit, not your frustration, through your consistency, not your complaints. Let the results reveal what the process refined. Let your peace confuse those who expected you to fall apart. Let your perseverance silence the ones who counted you out. Strength is not loud, it's lasting. It's not impulsive, it's intentional. It's not found in how fast you move, but in how well you endure. It's in your ability to stay grounded when everything around you shakes. It's in your decision to trust even when you can't trace the plan. It's in your posture when the weight is heavy, and your faith when the vision feels far. Let strength speak through your patience. Let it show in your restraint, your peace, your endurance, your joy. Let it speak in your discipline, because that's where the real work happens. You don't have to announce every battle. You don't have to justify every decision. You don't have to seek approval for your process. You are allowed to grow in silence. You are allowed to rebuild without broadcasting it. You are allowed to rise without warning. And when the time comes, the work you've done in private begins to bear fruit in public. You won't need to explain how you made it. The evidence will speak for itself. Peace you carry will testify. The stability in your spirit will tell the story. You won't need to say, "Look how strong I am." The strength will show in how you move, how you love, and how you refuse to be shaken. So keep your peace close and your energy sacred. Don't waste your words proving your power. Just live it. Just walk in it. Just let your life become the loudest declaration of what resilience looks like. Because at the end of the day, strength doesn't have to shout. It just stands. It doesn't have to prove, it just endures. And when you've truly mastered yourself, your silence will speak louder than any applause ever could.